Welcome everyone to Tell Me That. My name is Paul, and in this podcast I interview my dad to find out about his interesting, funny and enlightening life stories. So if you're interested in learning from my dad, then stay tuned.
Hi son.
Hello Dad.
Back again with our nice little podcast. And this time I want to focus a little bit more on my personal way through this disaster that I have described last time when our company was sold to this huge shipyard. They didn't know anything about machine tools. And they owned already 8 machine tool companies, and they were run by people that, they looked at it from a technical point of view, but from an investment and marketing and financial point of view, it was just a disaster. Instead of sitting down, having people around the table that knew about marketing and financials and to create a strategy plan, you only had engineers that talked about how they could improve their gateway systems and gearboxes, and I don't know. It was just people that totally ignored what it was all about. Anyway,
that's the love for the product, I guess.
Well, that is... they have that tunnel.
We know that love can make you blind.
Yes, absolutely. They had that tunnel view, you know. They didn't see really what was happening, you know. And at the end of the day, I kind of shortened this story now a little bit. At the end of the day, this whole machine tool part and the shipyard went bankrupt.
Wow.
Yeah, it went bankrupt. You know, they just before they have tried some kind of financial tricks with central cash management and moving money from left to the right, and it didn't help. You know, the day came and the shipyard, a big shipyard, you know, very big shipyard. I think they had like 6,000 people. You know.
Wow.
The big shipyard and all the companies, all these the company that I was working for 20 years, you know, they all went bankrupt.
That's basically your whole career, right? Because also when you were in US and Brazil, those companies were connected to that company.
Yes, absolutely. Well, actually, the company that hired me to go to Brazil and to the United States was one of these companies. You know, it was the company I started with. I actually entered the machine tool business. You know.
Would you do the same today again, staying 20 years at one company?
Well, you see, the point is, from my heart, I am a salesman. You know, I like to talk to people, to sell to, and I like to sell anything, you know, from car to refrigerator to furniture. I can sell anything.
Yeah.
But from my head, I'm a very creative person. And at that time, you know, I was very, it was a lot of fun, you know, to create solutions on my drawing board, you know, and you see, being an engineer, this was also fun, you know, and when people have built these solutions and they worked, it was just great, you know, it was great. But it didn't always mean that you were making money with it, you know. It was the best solution in the world. Do we make money with it? Well, not really, you know. And that was actually the issue, you know. So in this big company here that was going bankrupt, they actually asked me when they tried to reorganize what was left of the group, you know. They asked me to take the lead to become the managing director of a new company that they were going to start. where they put the, let's say, the 3-4 most successful machine tool companies, where these guys actually could see a chance for survival, and these guys were actually lawyers, they were lawyers, but in this particular case, I must say the lawyers were smarter than the people that were running the company, because lawyers, they think very pragmatic,
Yeah.
and if they don't know something, they find people that tell them, And so they were working with consulting agencies, they were working with external consultants, and so they reforged a company that is still alive today. Well, it has been resold in the meantime twice, but it is still on the market today. It is very successful. It's owned by a Swiss investor. It's and the goal from that investor is to have each year a gross margin of 15%. Which is well, it's actually, you got to have that these days. So anyway, they offered me the position as the managing director of this machine tool company that they were putting together, which included the company I was working for 20 years, the milling machine company, good company, and another smaller company. But you see, the point was I had to work together with people that I didn't really believe in, that I actually blamed for the mischief that I was in, So I mean, 22 years of my life, putting all the effort, all the traveling, and I mean, it was gone. It was gone from one day to another. And now I should start a company with people I didn't believe in, and without having a new job. I had a discussion with this lawyer, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I explained to him, and he said, hey, that's fair, and I do understand. If you don't want to do it for these reasons, I fully accept and respect your decision. And I handed him my resignation. I didn't even wait for them to set me free. I handed him my resignation, and that was it. 2 months later, I was sitting on the street, no job. Well, but I was well known in the German machine tool industry, and that is probably the most valuable capital that you have, when you have a lot of contacts. Contacts only harm people that don't have contacts.
I've heard that sentence a lot.
Yeah,
but it's true.
But this is true, but you see, these people, they don't want to work with you because you are such a nice guy with blue eyes and funny, and no, they believe that they believe in your management capabilities. They believe in your contacts worldwide to a lot of big customers, and at that time I tell you, I knew, the big players like Siemens and GE and Westinghouse and you name them, I walked in there, and in some companies I didn't even need a passport to get in.
Crazy.
Because these guys, they just knew me, but today it's unthinkable, if you try to enter one of these big companies without a passport, you probably end up in jail, Anyway, so I was sitting there, I was looking for a new job. I had an offer from a company in the southern part of Germany they were building Tronian machines. It was kind of funny, Tronian machines. It is a machine tool. They were making gearboxes for BMW. You put the basic part of the gearbox. You put that into the machine, and the machine has like 6 different stations. And on each station, there are milling tools, drilling tools, taps and all that. And when the part leaves the last station, it is ready. It is done, completely machined. It was, great. But the company was owned. It was very fascinating. Money was no issue. It was owned by a elderly gentleman. He was also working in the workshop every day, and that was already kind of curious.
So I'd say that's a red flag.
And I had a long discussion with him, and he said, "Yeah, you are the right guy. I like that. I like your history, and why don't you join us here?" And he showed me the office that was supposed to be my office, and the desk was probably about 30 to 40 years old.
Wow.
The chair was also an oldie. The shelves and the carpets, and it was just terrible. But for him it was, hey, you don't need more.
Yeah.
You don't really need more. That's perfect office for you. And even I must say, the money that he offered. Money was not an issue for him. And that was actually in 1998. In 1998, he offered me 300,000 Deutschmarks base salary. It was very tempting. I tell you. It was very, very tempting.
Wow.
Again, money was not an issue, but he was the kind of guy, if you don't perform, you're out.
Yeah.
He probably kicks you out the door himself.
Yeah.
So he was that kind of person. So I told him that I will consider his offer and that I appreciate all his confidence and blah blah, all that crap. And so I went home, and I had 3-4 other offers as a sales director, as a managing director. Good companies, but it was not really a company in that group that would really, make me kind of wow. So and then I got, and now it gets very personal. I got a phone call from a friend of mine. And he said, "Hey, do you have time on Saturday? I have a birthday party, and I have invited some people, and probably also a couple of people that you should meet. I know that you left your big company, and that you were kind of looking for a new challenge, and why don't you stop by on Saturday, and we'll see what happens." And I said, "Yeah, why not?" So, on that birthday party, which was on a kind of high level, very classy, good people, mostly managers, managing directors, and top guys, and bankers. So there was that one guy, 72 years old, approached me, and he said, "Well, I heard about you, and I also have a little machine tool company here in your hometown." I said, "Wow, that's great." And he said, "Well, it is very interesting. We make portable machine tools. It's service machines for the processing industry." And I said, "Well, that sounds very, very interesting, It was little machines, no big stuff, little handheld machines. for regrinding and relapping of ceiling surfaces, But he created a company with more than 110 people.
Okay.
And the way he described the company, he was making very good money. I mean, the company he actually started the company when he was 55 years old. So I had all respect, So, I mean, when you start a company with 55 years, I mean, you are either desperate or you are very rich, or you live your dreams.
Yeah, I mean, it's very high risk. Because if you're young, then you can get the money back if you lose it. But at that age, damn, that's risky.
At that age. And he actually started that company also with a loan from the bank.
Yeah.
And a loan from, I think his brother or something like that. Anyway, so he built his company, he had his own building, and very nice, all new. He said, why don't you stop by next week and I show you the company, and then we can chat a little bit. I said, well, why not, So I went to see him a week later, and I took a look at the company. And they also made testing equipment for valves, so like test benches. You put a valve in after it has been repaired. You put a valve in, you apply pressure to the valve, and you can see whether the seals are tight or not. So, I mean, that was very, very good product, And so I really enjoyed that tour. And he said, well, you see, it's a beautiful company. It was always my dream to start my own company, but the problem that I have now is I'm 72 years old. I have one son and I have one daughter. My son is going to university already for the last 15 years or 12, 15 years.
Okay.
My daughter is dreaming about a diving school in I don't know what, Puerto Rico or Dom Rep, So the kids did not really have the connection to this business, and so he was running the company. He was the managing director, but you could actually see 72 years. Well, he was kind of getting tired. At least that was my impression, So, and then he said what I was expecting, He said, well, why don't you join the company here?
Yeah.
As the vice president of the company, I mean, I'm still the president of the company because I'm the owner, but all the operational business and all this, it would be done by you, and it is a great business, and the company is in a good situation, and why don't you think about that? So I said, well, it's kind of, I mean, you kind of hit me on the wrong foot now, It's I have to think about it, This is something. I have never worked for a small company, for a privately owned company, and it is kind of new for me. However, the way the company is organized, what I see here is first class. And that is a big point on your side. So he said, well, think about it, call me next week, and then we can talk about the details. So to make a long story short, a week later I called him and I said, well, I give it a try because I believe in your company. That's the only reason. I believe in your company. I think it's a great company. It's a great product with a lot of potential worldwide because you are not really acting worldwide at the moment. Okay, you have some representatives in some countries, but I mean, there must be more. There must be more. And if you would actually go to machine tool exhibitions or maintenance exhibitions, and I think you could really create a lot of customer potential. And he was very excited about this idea, about this dynamic approach, and he said, well, come on here. Let's talk about the details of a contract, and then next week we're going to sign it. Okay, this is what we have done. We have created that contract, which was kind of simple, standard contract, and which included a base salary, which was kind of very generous, plus a bonus, which was even more generous, So I could not really complain about and the office that I was supposed to get was like 30 square meters or more, with beautiful paintings in it, and brand new furniture. It was really, really nice, Anyway, so 1 week later we signed the contract, and a month later I started. So when I started with the company, the first meeting I had was with the financial officer of the company. And I said, well, can you tell me a little bit about the situation that we are in right now? How is revenue going? Is it going upwards? And how profitable are your orders? And he collected all the stuff that I was asking him, but he didn't say a word. He didn't say a word. He just said, well, you get what you want, and he was kind of, it was kind of a friendly distance. Let's put it that way. So he got all that paperwork, and I worked my way through that the next couple of days, and I came to the conclusion that 2-3 more months, the company will be bankrupt.
Okay.
Yeah, it was scary. It was scary, because way too many people.
Yeah.
And cost effectiveness, they had a purchasing department, but they didn't really have strategic purchasing, And also the sales department was 2 guys, one for domestic, one for international. And I don't want to say anything about the qualification of these people, because I think it wouldn't be too good for them. Anyway, the order processing department, there were like, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8 people just in order processing. And I said, why? Why so many people in order processing? Why don't we have a system here like SAP or something like that to kind of process all these orders, It's, no, we do it all manually and so on, and it was kind of scary, And I had a discussion with the old man, I said, listen, sir, by all means, why didn't you tell me the truth about the situation of your company? He said, well, if I would have told you, you wouldn't have started with the company.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that is a pretty honest and fair reason, and what are we going to do now about this? He said, this is not my problem, that is your problem. So I had to make a decision, either leave the company again, throw it all in front of his feet, or take it as a real challenge, Take it as a challenge and kind of, we'll see what we can make out of this company. So, and I decided to do that, So the first problem I had was the bank the company was working with. The bank had given the company already a very generous credit line. And the company owed a lot of money to these people. So they did not really want to see the company go down the drain. They wanted to get their money back, which was of advantage to me. So what I did is I asked them for a meeting, a presentation. I introduced myself, and so they came to see us, and I was amazed because there was 2 directors of the bank, and that's the biggest bank in Düren at that time, and also the chairman of the board came along. So it was at the highest level,
Yeah.
And I used a couple of days before that meeting to create a new business plan for the next 3 years, a strategic sales and marketing and sales plan, and I created a plan how to lower the operational cost of the company, because we had way too many people. 110 people. You could run the company with like 60, 70 people. Easily. The reason for that was actually the old man, he just hired every relative that he had, I mean, from nephews and uncles and aunts and cousins, and they all had their office, and they had some kind of job, job in quotation marks, and they were just sitting there. So it was unbelievable. So I put a whole week of work into that, and then the day came, and these bankers, they showed up, and I started with my presentation by introducing myself again, telling them my history, my experience, and that I have worked out a strategic marketing and sales plan, and a new business plan for the next 3 years, and how I would reorganize the company to become more cost effective and to bring the company back on track. So I had like a 2-hour presentation, and at that time, I tell you, it was like with an overhead projector.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what did you use? Because I immediately imagined PowerPoint, but I was like, no, it didn't exist. It cannot be.
No. There was no PowerPoint, The only PowerPoint was my fingertip.
Yeah. But what did you present on a projector? I cannot imagine.
Well, we had these foils, these foils, and as I mentioned before, at home I had a drawing board, and I made these graphs.
You made graphs?
Yes, absolutely. Well, what the hell should I do? So you see, these presentations, they have to be simple. Mm-hmm. They have to be that bankers understand.
Yeah.
And bankers don't like complications. Mm-hmm. They like straight facts, simple. They understand, and when they understand and they see a possibility, they go with you. They go along with you. That is their business, So after 2 hours, I was done with my presentation, and the chairman of the board of the bank, he said, "Well, it was very nice presentation. We can see that the owner of the company really hired a professional person, and we could actually also see your experience that you have for a situation like this." Well, I mean, I just went through a bankruptcy with a big company, and I tell you, I learned a lot, So anyway, they said, "Well, what is the item that you need most? I said, I need money. I need about 500,000 Deutschmarks to survive. I will create additional money by orders that have been delivered but they have not paid. We have projects. People have received their machines 6 or 8 months ago and they haven't paid yet.
It's crazy.
And no one has ever asked them to pay.
Yeah.
And the biggest project was a company in Brazil. The company in Brazil, $250,000 US. Machine was delivered.
Not paid.
No pay.
Crazy.
So
I guess a good measurement was a month or 2, I guess. But 6 to 8 months is crazy.
Yeah, well, today people are pushing for like 60 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Or even 90 days. If you go to Spain or to Italy, they go for 90 days. You know.
But half a year is crazy.
You cannot believe it, So all the outstanding money amounted to like 600,000 to 800,000 Deutschmarks.
Wow.
See, and having this money, we wouldn't have a liquidity problem.
Yeah.
So now I needed extra cash coming in from the bank to survive. And I told the bankers that I will have to lay off at least 20 to 25 people that I do consider as redundant. I don't see any value of these people for the company. So they like that. Bankers always like when you lay off people, which is kind of silly, But anyway, so after like 10 minutes, they said, well, you get your 500,000 Deutschmarks. You also get an additional 200,000 Deutschmarks for your layoff program.
Yeah.
The condition is that one of my colleagues here, Director XY, he will be here once a week. He will go through all the invoices that you have to pay. And without his signature, no invoice will be paid. And I said, well, I don't see a problem with that. Well, but there was a problem, because there were a few other items that have been paid by the company that shouldn't have been paid by the company, but I don't want to go into detail.
Okay.
That was a big step ahead, and the owner of the company, of course, was extremely happy, and he wanted to celebrate, and I said, well, no, don't celebrate now. Let's celebrate when we are done, when we are really on safe ground. So the first thing I did was, the following week, I had a personal discussion with every person that had to be laid off. Some people were kind of cooperate. They said, well, I was actually counting on that, I didn't know anyway what I should do in the company. And I said, well, it's so great that we have a common base, so you are out, So, and it didn't really cost money, Some other people, it was kind of difficult, They had family, they had kids, but they had there was no use for them in the company, So with these people, I was a bit more generous. They got some money, cash paid out to survive until they had a new job, So at the end, I managed to lay off 23
But
people.
how did you tell those people? You probably didn't just call them into your office and said, well, guess what, you're fired.
Well, this is the American way.
Yeah,
we
right.
don't do that.
So how did you do it?
No. I called them into a meeting room, and I explained to them that the company is in a difficult situation and that we have to lay off people, and my friend, you're going to be one of them, you know. And some people, they understood. They actually, some people even told me, well, I was counting on that, you know, because this cost that we are creating in the company with all these people that we actually don't need, you know. So.
But what about those people that didn't?
Well, I made them an offer. I said, well, you have the choice. Either you take our offer, like 20,000 Deutschmarks cash on your head, or I lay you off, and then you can go to a lawyer. You can sue the company, but I don't think that you get more than 20,000 Deutschmarks.
Yeah.
It costs you a lot of money for your lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, so it's your decision, and not a single person went to a lawyer. They all took the offer, and at the end of the day, I spent from the money that I got from the bank, from the 200,000 Deutschmarks, I spent about 120,000 Deutschmarks.
Okay.
And so that was all in plan and budget, you know, that was good. So the second thing was getting money from our customers. And that was quite an adventure, you know. I started, well, first we sent letters. We sent letters to the people, letters with a, kind of a firm tone, explaining to them that, we have been patient for a long time, but now it's going to be their decision whether we settle that in front of a judge on court, or they cooperate and pay their bill that are overdue anyway, you know. So, and believe it or not, almost 50% of the people just paid the following week. They just paid the invoice, because what the company, or what our company never did is, when they send an invoice and the payment date was past due, they never send a reminder.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, well.
Never ever. You know. So, and that was stupid, because there were companies that had a company policy. It says, well, we only pay our invoices after the second reminder.
Yeah.
You know. So so sending them this letter, kind of threatening them with, if you don't pay, we turn this over to our lawyer, then we are not the people to talk to anymore. Our lawyer is going to be the person to talk to. And again, about 50% of the people, they paid, which was good.
That's good, yeah.
Which was good. Now, there was this one big project in Brazil, $250,000 US. And the boss sold this machine himself. It was a stationary machine tool. The company had never built a stationary machine tool. And it was such a weird design. Anyway, so I flew to Brazil to see this customer.
Yeah.
And first I spoke Portuguese. That helped a lot. Second, the plant manager was a German.
Okay.
That actually married into this family that owned the company. And you see, my objective was to get the money, the payment. But you cannot just go there and say, well, I want my payment, you know.
Yeah.
Especially in Brazil, you know. You have to use, silk gloves, you know. So I had dinner with this gentleman, and he was a gentleman, no question about it. And kind of worked my way towards this order and why they didn't pay. And he said, well, let's enjoy the dinner tonight. And tomorrow I give you a tour through the company, and I show you the machine and why we didn't pay for that machine.
Okay.
So, okay, next day, I made my tour through the company, and there was this one something that was covered with a big black plastic foil, and I said, "Wow, what is this here?" I said, "This is your machine." I said, "What?" He said, "It's not a machine. It's not even what we agreed on. It's just an assembly of tools and parts and it's like a Lego system.
Yeah.
You can put all kind of machines together with that, but not what we need. And
Yeah.
I don't know who built that and who put that together, but we are not going to pay for that, because this is just for us. It's junk." And I stayed the next couple of days and talked to this gentleman and to his requirements. When you place the order, what did you expect? What did you want from this company? I avoided totally to kind of put pressure on him.
Yeah.
So, and he said, "Well, I wanted to have a machine tool where you can put a valve housing on the table. You push a button, full CNC, and after 5 minutes, this valve housing comes off the machine and is completely machined."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, that's straightforward, You should have bought a machining center." And he said, "Yeah, well, today I know, but the point at that time was I was at a machine tool show, and I saw a big picture of exactly that machine that I needed. And I talked to the people, also to the owner of the company, and he said, 'Well, we can build that machine for you. No problem at all, $250,000, and you are in business, So I placed the order. I have full power of attorney here. I placed the order, and but the payment conditions was payment after delivery. And since he agreed to that, it was no risk for me. And I said, "Well, I can see that now. And but you see, we both have a problem now. I don't have the money, and you don't have a machine. And I think we both were better off if I would have the money and you would have a machine." And he said, "Well, I have just between you and me. I know you now. I got to know you now for the last couple of days, and it seemed to me that you are a very honest person. And the problem that I have is this is a family-owned business, and I married the daughter of the owner. And once in a while, they ask me, how are things going? How is your new machine working? And so far, I could tell them, well, not bad, we are still learning, but it's working pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to take that long anymore, I got to do something about it. So the best, of course, would be I get a machine that is exactly or would do exactly what I wanted to do. And I said, well, I can build that machine for you. I know exactly what you need. The last 2 days I've made a lot of sketches and took a lot of measurements, and my background is machine tool company, vertical turning machines, machine tool company, machining centers. So, I have all the qualification, all the know-how that's required to design the machine that you need. He said, well, I believe you, but the payment terms would be after delivery. And I said, well, the point is, if I go for a machine high-end with the components that I need, the new CNC control, all the guideway systems that I need, it's so much money that I have to put up front. We can't afford that, So my offer is, you send me $250,000, and this machine, or this whatever you call it, you send it back to the company, and we will send you within 8 months the best machine tool for your needs, the very best machine tool for your needs. And believe it or not, he did that. He did that, And a week later, we had $250,000 on our bank account. The bank was very pleased,
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I had hired a new head of design. It was one of my guys from the vertical turning machine company that I was working with. He was one of the design managers, and he had all the experience required to design that machine, So the design was done in like 8 weeks, and then we started to purchase parts and control systems and so on. And we built that machine, and after 8 months, we invited this customer and his manufacturing guys to visit us to make an acceptance test. We had everything prepared. They actually sent us test pieces, So we went through these test pieces like butter, It was just a pleasure to watch that machine working. He was pleased. The owner of the company, my company, was pleased, and we got the money. He got the machine, and it was quite a success story, And the bank was pleased, So my start with the company was good, very good. But that was just the beginning, and I tell you, this whole situation with this company turned into a nightmare, but I'm going to tell you more about that in our next podcast.
Okay.
All right.
I'm excited for it.
Take care, and talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time. See you. Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from my dad. If you're interested in how his story continued, then make sure to tune in again next week for some more lessons. Also, make sure to share this podcast with your family and friends. I would love to see you again next week. Until then, have a good time.